after I got my beer. Tasty. So, good evening YouTube and the internets. If you can just ignore what I'm doing, because you're not going to catch up with this for several weeks yet. So if you can just ignore this nice shiny hand. I had to do this tonight before I go away on holidays, and the holidays are why you're not going to see me again after this for a couple of weeks. Along with ignoring this and pretending you don't see it, and me going away for a couple of weeks on holidays. So this will probably be the last video for probably 3 weeks. I wanted to tell you that I'll be away for a couple of weeks. I also wanted to tell you about the sale of the 33. So the last video I put up, the 33 got sold, and I think it's probably safe now to talk about that because that happened, when did I sell the car? April? I'm going to tell you the story about the dude who bought it. I advertised the car on Gumtree. I advertised the car with the full mods list. I advertised it with, and stick with me here because this is pretty funny. A lot of shit happens in this story. So I advertised the car for, I think it was up for 3 days, maybe 4 days. And I got an offer, random offer from my ad on Facebook, not on Gumtree. The dude offering to swap me a, I think it was 2005 turbo diesel Toyota Hilux 3-litre one. And my immediate response was, nah, I don't want another car to sell. So I wrote it off immediately. Immediately responded with no thanks. And then thought about it and thought, well, there might be some value in it. I'll have a look. And so the next day, I looked up the value of those Hiluxes, and they were worth something in the realms of $16,000 to $18,000 with that level of kilometres on that trim level. So considering I was selling the car for $9, I had it advertised for $9.5, I think. Included like lots of spare parts and stuff for future mods I had on hand. I messaged this guy back the next day saying, I may be interested in the swap, actually, on second thoughts. Can you give me some more photos and details of the car? So he gives me some more photos and details, and it looks good, and it looks clean, and the kilometres are not high. Can't remember what they were. I remember they were alright. So after a dozen messages or so, he says, obviously I want cash my way. Now, the only reason I was considering it is because it was a massive financial advantage. If there wasn't a massive financial advantage in it, I wasn't going to bother. So I just went back, oh, well, how much cash? And he threw a reasonably big number, and it was a fair number. But because it was fair, I didn't want it. I wanted an unfair deal, not a fair deal. If I was going to swap, because I wasn't looking for a swap, it needed to be heavily in my favour. So I squashed it, said no. But I knew the dude wanted the car. This is where it starts getting interesting. That afternoon, I counted the amount of messages he'd sent me. And I was talking to a mate, Benny, who you see in the videos, and I said, this dude wants this car. I'm going to sell this car to this dude. Whether he thinks he's going to buy it or not, he's going to buy it. He goes, well, what's that based on? And I said, well, and I added up, and I think it was 54 messages in 12 hours or something like that. So it was a lot of messages, and that didn't include pictures or one-word messages. They were like whole sentences to and fro of just his to me. And obviously I was responding because I wanted to sell the car to the dude. And I said to him, mate, if this was a chick, she'd be a stage 5 clinger. At that point, I just started referring to the dude as the clinger. The next day comes, and he sends me 1 or 2 messages, and then says, this is on the Thursday, I'll give you $9,000 today for the car. And I went back to him and said, look, if you're serious about buying the car, so he hadn't even seen the car yet. If you're serious about buying the car, come Friday, meet me at a public place that I know which is nearby, which is well lit and stuff, and come have a look at the car and then see what you think. And then if you still want it, we can make a deal. I didn't reject the money. I wanted more than that, but I figured, well, he's keen. I was right. Anyway, arranged, said, look, just arrange a time with me and come and see it on Friday. And then while he was thinking about when he was going to do it, I messaged my mate a screenshot of him agreeing to buy the car for $9,000, like making a $9,000 offer sight unseen. I then sent a message saying, see, I told you this guy was a clinger. And then I go back to work for about 5 or 10 minutes, check my phone, and I saw I had a message, so I had a look, and it was the clinger. It was the dude I was selling the car to. And what I'd actually done is I'd sent that previous message to him, and not to my mate. So I'd sent the message about this dude being a clinger to the dude I was talking about in the first place. So I've gone, oh fuck, I've ruined this sale, it's game over. This dude is not going to buy this car, he thinks I'm a jerk, and he may be right. That's beside the point, I still wanted to sell the car to him. And his response was, that's a bit harsh, but like a good clinger. A couple of minutes later he wrote, I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen. So that's exactly the sort of response I'd expect from a clinger. Anyway, obviously that was hilarious, and he was still wanted to buy the car, and he's still going to meet on the Friday, so that was all good. And obviously I sent those messages then to my mate, double checking just that I had the addresses right. And everyone I showed it to wet their pants laughing and called me a friggin' idiot, and that was rightly so. And about that time I started calling him Max, which was, you know, for Max Clinger. So which worked on 2 levels, because that's the cross-dressing soldier in MASH, but also maximum level of cling, the Max Clinger. So anyway, Friday comes along, I go to meet the dude. When I left here, the indicator fuse blew and the headlights stopped working for some reason, which were not problems before I went to leave the house, but they were. And it was getting on dusk, so when I got there, he's had a decent look at the car, he's had a good look around, and then he's asked me, he said, look, can I drive it? And I said, under normal circumstances, that'd be fine, I'd go with you. But because it's getting dark and the indicator's not working, along with the headlights not working, so they're working on high beam, so I could, you know, still drive home or whatever. But I'm happy to take you for a drive in it, and then we can see what happens. So he agreed to that, and off we went for a drive. He was thoroughly impressed. He said he wanted to drift it at some point, so he wanted to know how well the handbrake works. So I did a little 90-degree handbrake turn. Nothing spectacular, but just demonstrated the handbrake locked both wheels comfortably. And I heard a little bit of a clunk, and I felt a bit of a shudder in the driveline, which you should know by now if you watched the previous videos. As it turns out, would be the diff, but I didn't know that at this time. So anyway, I drive back to the servo, and he's sitting there, he's like, I'll give you 9 grand. And I'm like, you know, I'm still pushing for 9.5 at this point. But he makes a good point. He says, look, don't sell me any of the parts. You know, this is wrong, that's wrong, the indicators and the headlights and stuff, which were just new problems, but they were problems, they were legitimate problems. So I was sitting there and thinking about it. The whole time all I could smell was diff oil. It reeked of diff oil. But I'm doing the negotiation, and I agree to the price of $9,000 to sell the car as is, without a roadworthy certificate, but leave the rego on it. And he was going to, and he told me his boss was going to provide him with a roadworthy certificate, who's obviously a mechanic. He had that arranged, so it wasn't going to be a drama. And I'm like, yeah, sweet, no dramas. If you know Queensland law, you'll know that's a thing you've got to do, and it's a little bit dodgy, but it's sort of the thing that happens when you sell these modified cars in Queensland. So what happened next was, we'd agreed to the sale. He'd give me a couple of $100 deposit. We agreed to meet at 2 PM, same place. Do the deal. I wrote him a receipt by text message for the $200 deposit. And everyone was happy. I'd sold the car, slightly less than what I hoped for, but I've got all the parts here that I can sell to make that money up. He's got the car he wants. He was hell-bent on buying it for the whole time, it's quite clear, so he definitely wanted the car. He's going to buy it no matter what. I go to drive home, and the diff sounds like a bag of eggshells in a food muncher. It's just horrible. So I got just around the corner, I've gone, nah, kibosh that. And as you'll see in the episode, the first episode of the last 4 I think I've put up in a week, the diff had shat itself. I then walk 70% of the way home, and then I realised I've left money in the car. I thought I'd left it sitting in the centre console. So I go, oh, shit, I can't leave that there. I have to go back and get it. So I turn around and I walk all the way back to the car, and it turns out I hadn't. I'd actually put the money in the ashtray and no one could see it. But what was in the centre console were the keys to the Falcon, and my house keys, and the garage keys. So it's a good thing I had to go back. So then I drove up, walked all the way home, hooked up the trailer, got the Falcon, and as you see in the video, went down, went to load the car and didn't have the Skyline keys. So then I had to drive back home, get the Skyline keys that I'd bought with me but left on the filing cabinet or on the table or something. Went back, and the rest is as you see it. Worked, busted our guts. We got the diff installed by lunch. I had a test drive, it felt fine. I degreased the underside of the car, sorted it all out, and then I go up there and I meet the guy. He's early, like a good clinger. Always early for your dates. Yeah, there were lots of jokes about him raping me and not wanting to buy the car at all and that sort of stuff jumping around at this stage. And I won't mention his name because I don't want to say anything bad about the guy. But we turned up and he's there and he's got some mates there, and I pull up and climb out of the car, and then I didn't even get out of the car. He hands a paper bag through the window, and it's the remaining $8,800 in cash, in $20 notes. So it's a wad of cash. In fact, I think I've got a photo if I can remember how to edit it in. It's a wad of cash like that thick, which is ridiculous, and it's going to take 20 minutes to count. So the first thing I do is grab that wad of cash and I walk over to my mate Benny, who'd come down with me to help supervise the deal and drive me back, because obviously I wouldn't have the Skyline to drive back in. And I just hand in the money and said, "Get that," and dutifully he starts counting. And I walk back and I start talking to the dude, and I've made receipts and you know, made sure we were square on the sale and everything was right, and he had another look over the car, and you know, I spent 10 minutes signing all the paperwork, registration, transfer forms, everything's signed and dated. I did him a favour and I didn't date his version of the form, so when he got his certificate he could then date the sale forms after the certificate to get the registration, so as that wouldn't raise any alarm bells with the Department of Transport in Queensland, just to make things easier for him, because I'm a nice guy. And then I get up there and he's Ben's 80% through counting the money. I'm like, well, I've got to finish counting it, so I keep counting it. I counted a wad and I got $980 when I counted it instead of $1,000. And I said to the dude, look, I've got $980 on this wad, all the rest add up. I'm going to assume that I've just miscounted it, because you know, it was all in rubber bands and I assumed it had been pre-counted fairly well. And it was that amount of money, but I had to make the assumption at the time. And I said, deal, shook hands. He drove off in the Skyline. I then drove back home with my mate, and sale was done. Or so I thought. Ah, I've got it on me. I won't be able to do this without showing his name, possibly. So let's see what I can and can't do here. So we'll just continue calling him Maxwell Klinger. No real names used. Too easy, I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, hang on, I'll show you this. This, where I sent the message. Told you he was a stage 5 Klinger. I'll just ignore that and pretend it never happened. Good Klinger. So he asked me a couple of questions about the indicators, and I helped him out about the indicators and the headlights, and I said, I just put the trim back together, so it could be behind a kick panel, I might have pinched a wire, etc, etc. There was another repair, he's too easy thinks, and then I get this. Hey mate, can I have my money back? So that's what I woke up to on Sunday morning. My response is pretty obvious. Is that a joke? No, gearbox is flawed, crunch is third and fourth. Unlike you described, window switches work 50% of the time, indicators are rooted. Now, you know, I've got the last couple of videos, I repaired the windows, so they work just fine last time I used them. And also the gearbox is fine. There's nothing wrong with the friggin' thing. So, well, no, it won't be any refunds, man. The gearbox is not flogged. Windows work fine for me. Indicators, you were fully aware of. If you recall, you made an offer without even seeing it. I was the one who wanted you to come for a drive before committing and have a look at it in the daylight hours to inspect before buying. Sure you won't do a refund, so I'll stop. Just filming my phone there. So this goes on for several hours. Now, the bottom line is, he's bought the car without driving it. I didn't expect him to turn up on Saturday and not drive the car in the daylight hours. When I did that drive on Friday, I expected him to say, sale pending a test drive, basically. and agree to the thing and take the deposit, and then if he doesn't buy it, he loses his deposit. But he doesn't buy a car that he hasn't driven, because he had not driven the car. He instead buys the car, agrees to it. He turns up on Saturday. I still half expected him to say, look, I want to just take it for a test drive before we finalise. That would have been fine. I would have let him take it for a drive. No drama. But he was in it when I drove it, and the gears didn't crunch. They don't grind. Occasionally it would, and he did ask me during the test drive, he said, do the gears grind? And I said, look, it's an RB25 gearbox. They do sometimes third, sometimes fourth. Will give you a little bit of a nick if you're a bit lazy through the gate, or if you're a bit soft on the clutch. If you engage fully, it never crunched in racing. It only ever crunched if you were lazy on the road and just slowly slipped it in the gate. It's an RB thing, it happens. This dude craps on for days, saying he's going to take me to court, he's going to the police station, he's going to have me charged with fraud, he's not going to transfer the reg. And I said, look, okay, look, that's fine. What I'll do, because he's making threats about the registration, I said, what I'll do is I'll go and deregister the car, and I'll refund you what I get back on the registration. Then the roadworthy certificate is not an issue. You know, it's then not part of the sale. We don't care about it, and everything's hunky-dory. But obviously that removes his leverage, because he's using that as some sort of bargaining chip, and he obviously has no idea how the law works. I mean, he says, I'm going to the police and then I'm going to the courthouse. I mean, you can't just turn up at a courthouse and say, I want to sue this guy. You need to know what you're doing, you need to know what you're talking about. The courthouse is, no one there is going to care about you buying a car that you've never test driven. You're never going to get anywhere. I would love to have been a fly on the wall when he went to the police station, because they would have just laughed at him as well. Now, if he wasn't such a dick about it, I might have been inclined to help him out one way or another. Maybe, you know, look at the gearbox and see if it was crunching, see why, but he just carried on like a spanker. So, you know, I just went, well, no, fuck you. And I said to him, I said, look, for all I know, you've had the car for 12 hours. For all I know, you've done tow runs up Mount Nebo all night and you fucked a gearbox. That's not my fault. You fucked it. Deal with it. Oh, drama. And, you know, and this dude knows where I live, because all that information's on my form, and I'm like, is he going to turn up here with mates? And it turned out we had a mutual friend on Facebook, this dude I used to play cricket with, and I rung the guy. He said, nah, he's never going to turn up, don't worry about it. And he's a mechanic. So this dude is allegedly a mechanic himself. He's bought a car that he hasn't driven, and then he's complaining about it the next day. So Maxie's a dick, basically. And then he gives me some final warning saying, this is your very last chance. He gave me about 20 of them, but one of them he actually stuck with. This is your very last chance. You know, if you give me, minus the deposit, a refund, I'll, you know, not go to the police. And I'm like, you do whatever you like, dude, because the police aren't going to help you. The courthouse doesn't give a shit. It's a civil matter, so the police aren't interested. Good luck with that. And I said, you know, last chance for me to remove the registration. And then it goes quiet. And there's just pages of fucking him being a total cockspank, and me just going, nah, not playing the game. I won't go into all the details and ins and outs of that, because there's no point. But Max is a giant cockspank. That's the last thing, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, couple of thumbs up. Well, the second thumb up was unintentional, a couple of days later. So what do we got? The 8th of May. And then he comes back and he says, did you take the clip for the headlight bulb out of the back seat where you threw it? So when I turned up for the test drive, he saw me pulling the headlight bulb out to look at it, because I was surprised it wasn't working. And what I did is I left it in the car, and then I asked my son to clean out any loose items in the car, and he did, which included the clip for the light. So and I told him exactly what it was, because antagonizing him at this point is not going to fix my problem, despite how much I want to antagonize the dude. And then I got this message like a week and a half later. What's that? The 8th of May, 8 days later, 16th of May. Sorry I've been slack, just had the roadworthy certificate done on the Skyline. It should be transferred end of the week if work isn't crazy like it has been. This dude has just forgotten the previous this many messages about him not wanting the car anymore. Dude's a nut job. He's a proper clinger. You know, and he talked about selling the car on without a roadworthy, and then whatever someone else does with it be beyond his control, etc, etc. And then a week later he sends me the transfer, rego transfer all done. He asked me a nice polite question, what plugs have been used, what get. Personally, I'd have a look. I'd just open the valley cover and inspect them. But he asked me, so I answered it. And then a couple of weeks later he asked me, do I want to sell him a boost controller that I've got, which he specifically talked out of the sale to knock 500 off the price. To which I've just ignored him. I'm not going to bother. But yeah, it was drama. It was all drama, and I wasn't very happy about it. But that's the story of Maxwell Klinger, and he's the new owner of the 33. And I've seen him drive it. I've seen him drive past maybe 4 times, not past my house, but just around the corner from my house. Now, as far as the rest of this, what I'm unpacking here that I've asked you to ignore, these are the cams out of the 32. And that's not the head out of the 32. The head out of the 32 is down there, along with the pistons. Come on, look. All the valve guts, plenum, intake. The engine's out. So if you're watching, if you follow me on Facebook, which is literally Tangle01 on Facebook, you would know that all that's happened. So if you're behind on the build, what I'm doing, go there. What I do there is, because videos take a long time to edit, put up and plan and work around and do all that sort of stuff. Photos on my phone take seconds to take and upload, and they're up. So what I do is I put photos up on Facebook on that page showing what I'm doing real time, so it's up to date as far as exactly what I'm doing at any given time. Now what I'm doing here is I'm looking for the part numbers, because they're not 272 pond cams, because they don't make a 272 pond cam for an RB25, they only make it for the 26. They're likely to be a 260 or a 270 or something like that. And what I'm doing is I'm dropping this head off tomorrow morning, first thing, to a head specialist before I go on holidays, so I can make a decision on whether or not this head is the right one to use. You're getting a little sneak preview. You're going probably 6 weeks ahead, I reckon, on videos. Maybe 8 weeks actually. 6 weeks of videos after the 2-week break. The block's over there. It's bare. It's completely stripped. I haven't decided if I'm going to use that one yet, or the other two. I have decided I want to use this head. All of that has been filmed. I've got hours upon hours upon hours of footage there that I have to edit. Getting the engine out, engine and gearbox out, stripping the engine, stripping the head, cleaning up the parts, and then starting the selection process on which bits I'm going to use to put together. What my plan is as far as how much power I want to make is not decided yet, and I'm not going to say it. I do say in the other videos, I give ranges of what I might look at, but I haven't made an actual decision. I have made a decision, but I'm not going to say what that is. I'll leave that for later. That's that. So I've probably taken 20 minutes when I meant to take 4. I might have to cut and snip half of the Maxwell Klinger story. It was much funnier last time I told it. I feel, because it's been so long, I had to think so hard about what actually happened in the sequence of events. So I apologise if it's not as witty or funny, but every time I told it at the time, everyone wet their pants. So yeah, maybe I should have recorded the story sooner and just held on to it, because I didn't want to upset it before, while the dude was still fresh with the sale and stuff. And I still don't want him to necessarily see it. If he does happen to see this video, tough luck. I mean everything I said. And I think someone must have got it in his ear after he bought it and said, oh, you've made a mistake, you shouldn't have bought this. And then he was panicking, trying to get out of it. I don't know, his parents, he might have had to borrow the money. He might have had a buyer for his car that fell through, and so he couldn't afford to pay his loan shark back. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he went from very happy to very upset about buying the car very quickly. Moral of the story is, I hate selling cars. There's always a drama. Actually, selling the Corolla was a piece of cake, except I had dramas getting it ready for sale. But that's another story. It's the story told. That's the great tale of Maxwell Klinger and the 33 and everything going wrong that could. But yeah, so the emotional roller coaster selling that car, of selling the car, getting the sale, going to drive home, the diff explodes, and then we bust our guts Saturday morning. We get the diff in, we get the other diff in, we make the other diff serviceable, get it in the car, and I make the sale and I'm chuffed to get back on top of the world, have a few beers because yay me and Benny, and then wake up to that message in the morning and I'm like, what the you know, and then just drama and drama, and then he just disappears, and then he says, yeah, I've transferred the rego. After all the carrying on and threats that he made, he actually, because there's a time limit on how quickly he has to do it, and he did it on the final day he got it done. So all's well that ends well, I suppose. I'm having a beer. It's Thursday night. I may include something from the holiday on the channel. I don't know, I've never done anything like that. Let me know in the comments if you think that'll be worthwhile. It's a sailing holiday, effectively. That's all I'll tell you. So if you're interested in that at all, let me know. I might do it, and if it's popular, I might do other stuff. If it's not popular, I won't. But while I'm going away, I've got about 835 subscribers right now. It'd be a fantastic surprise if I could come back, because where I'm going there's almost no internet or phone coverage. If over the next 2 weeks, if the channel was to grow to 1,000 subscribers. So if you know anyone who you think might be interested in the channel, share one of the good videos, not this one. Get them to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you like it. If you don't like the channel, don't subscribe, because then you unsubscribe later and my numbers go down, and then I get negative rating on YouTube, and then the videos don't get shared by YouTube on the homepage, and the algorithm-y stuff I don't understand. But by subscribing and then unsubbing, you actually do me more damage than not subscribing at all. Even a thumbs down is actually better for me than that. So give me a thumbs down if you don't like it. That'd be great. And if you do like it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe and tell all your mates too. And that should be good. And then I can have 1,000 subscribers, and then I can say, I've got 1,000 subscribers. That's really all it is. That's all it's going to achieve, nothing else.